And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a magnificent guest with us tonight, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration. And that is none other than the frontline soldier, activist, family man, and the student, someone who's in the community doing a lot of great work. And we get to hear firsthand from him none other than our brother Scott. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. The honor is mine, and people are already in the chat. Thank you all for showing love. The first question that we have for you, sir, is when was the first time that you heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Yes, sir. Well, I'd like to open up Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim, the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness there's no God but Allah who came in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad. I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his living and exalted Christ. And I bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the Messiah in our midst today. Um, well, it's interesting. My older brother, was running around, we lived in Chicago and he ran around with some of the El Rookins, some of the Blackstone. And one day he was talking about this bad dude named Farrakhan. And, all the street brothers, they was like, man, he cold, man. He go up on the government, tell them, give me $5,000. I'm going to blow up your buildings. And they give him $5,000. And I was fascinated, man. It's just
Okay.
street talk. But actually, I went to school in the south suburbs. It's a little school called Deer Creek. And the first day of school, my teacher called the name Abner Farrakhan,
Hmm.
and she called the name Amir Muhammad and Aaron Muhammad. And they had the brother Salim and sister Celeste sons, brother Aaron and Amir. We were all in the seventh grade together. And I thought they were from Arabia because of Muhammad, and they had the noses and the accents. And I asked Brother Abner, I said, "Man, Farrakhan, that's your father?" He looked at me like, "No, that's my uncle." I said, "Okay, we got a character here." But that was my first introduction. And then one day, our class was a little extra wild. If you can imagine, it was really wild, that
Hmm.
class. And one day, though, Brother Amir, we had a payphone in the hallway by the cafeteria. And I guess Brother was calling home, and I heard him say, Assalamu alaikum, you know, to his mother, I guess. And then at the end of the call, he said, Wa alaikum salam. And I was asking, I said, Brother, what'd you say? How do you say that? And he wouldn't repeat it. But it struck something in my core. And from there, man, just it was like the teachings were just always around. What I really that was just the periphery. When I really first heard the teachings, it's a shame to say, and my children probably watching this. Um, I was actually on my way to steal a car. Me and a couple of my partners is something we used to do. And on the way to take the car that we had spotted, we was arguing about Jesus.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And another partner of mine, we were walking down the street, we arguing back and forth, and we ran into a brother named Gerald. And he was like, what y'all arguing about? So we decided, man, do Jesus do this, that, or the other? And he was like, none of the above. Have you heard of, the minister teach? And we was like, nah. So he invited us to his house. So we left from going to take the car and went to his house. And the first lecture I heard was the minister at, I think it was Northern Illinois
Hmm.
University. And he was breaking down words, man, what prejudice means or what racist means and all. And I was done, man, from that point on. Every chance I got, I post up at Brother Gerald's. We lean back and listen to the tapes.
Okay, okay. Praise be to
Yes, sir.
Allah. Beautiful. This is a great story. We got so many follow-up questions for you. Walaikum salam, Sister Naima. Walaikum salam, it's Child. Walaikum salam, Sister Miriam. Thank you to everybody who's watching and showing love from all around the world. We have to go back to two brothers who are very near and dear to the people's podcast. very near and dear to my family and many people as well. Brother Aaron and Brother Amir, may Allah be pleased with both of them.
Yes.
Brother Amir has been on the People's Podcast before on Top Five, and of course, I'm connected to his family through children and marriage and nieces and nephews, all that good stuff. Um, what was it like being around them in in their younger days?
They were hilarious. They
Mm.
were hilarious, man. We were actually all close, and my youngest little sister was best friends with Amira. We
Okay, okay.
lived about 10 houses down from them. We were way the street was, we were posted up on the street, and then when you bent the corner and went down, they were down the block, so we
Mm.
played football, in the field together.
Okay, okay.
Um, Aaron was so funny. He tried out, we had a choir at our school. I think they were called the Shadows or something like that.
Mm.
And we had some singers, man, at our school, the children, I mean, but they could throw down.
Yes,
And
sir.
Aaron went up there and he tried out for the Shadows. And it was quiet, because it was very serious. This is like the biggest choir
Okay,
in the
okay.
school. And Aaron got up and said, I was born son of Byford, brother of Al. Start singing the Run DMC song, and the whole school just fell out, man. That was Aaron though. He was always special. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And like I think they left right at the beginning of the ninth grade. And I think they like MUI, I believe, was kind of being opened up. And I believe they kind of went that route.
Okay, okay.
Brother Abner, all of them left. And at the time, Section 8 in our city, was bringing in a whole bunch of cats from all over Chicago. Their parents
Mm.
would need Section 8 homes. Well, in Chicago, you got neighborhoods and you got blocks, and the GDs over there, the Four Corner Hustlers over there, the Vice Lords over there. But in Section 8, they ain't ask them kind of questions. So everybody now is all mixed up next door to each other.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it was like maximum chaos, you know what I mean? It was like way out. And you get involved. And so a lot of different kind of stuff happened. And I remember Aaron and Amir had came back into town because in fact I remember once Aaron Amir and brother Akeem, when he
Okay.
first was blowing up and start rapping, he was out there. Aaron would organize buses, man, and bring buses from the suburbs to the mosque. You know what I'm saying? Full buses of children, high school children, man. And he'd just be pumped up, bouncing on the bus, like, man, y'all about to hear this, man. Woo." He was one of a kind. Yeah.
Beautiful. All praise due to Allah. May Allah be
He
pleased.
he when he invited me to join the task force, like when I came into the mosque, when I started coming in, um, he saw me. And I remember we were on this spot they call it the salty spot. This is where a lot of stuff happened. A lot of cats got jumped on that spot and everything. And he was like, "Man, I'm hearing a lot about you out here, man. Because just word travels." And it was like, yeah, yeah. He's like, man, bruh, you know, I'm hearing too much. And I like, yeah. But the next thing that happened was I got a job at a Denny's, and I used to work the night shift.
Mm.
And one night a brother was coming home from post named Robert Muhammad. He was the one of the first lieutenants for Brother Farrakhan,
Mm.
in
Mm.
Chicago. It was Brother Michael and Brother Robert. Those was the two primary lieutenants.
Okay,
Everybody was trained under either
okay.
Brother Michael or Brother Robert Muhammad. And this brother was coming home and he was at Denny's. And it was some Nubian Islamic Hebrew brothers that I used to rotate with. They were, they sitting at a table and they were leaving out. Salam alaikum. I said, Wa alaikum salam. He said, brother, you Muslim? And I was like, well, I'm checking it out. And he started coming up there every night. And he would sit there. I would get him a cup of coffee and some key lime pie. And his brother he would just talk to me, right, about the teachings. And I had heard the teachings, but what he brought was an FOI, like something that I could put my hands on it. And his bearing, like the dignity of his bearing, you know what I mean? His aura,
Yes,
it
sir.
was just it was profound. It's like, whoa. And he would invite me out. We go out and I guess that was 90, 91.
Mm.
So in 91, the minister did a lecture called We Are the Overcomers.
Okay,
There's a
okay.
part one and a part two. On We Are the Overcomers part two, I took some of my little Vice Lord homies up, my little sister, we all rode up there. And I was thinking real hard, like I was hooked. But the only thing I had questions on, I couldn't understand the concept of Master Fard Muhammad. And we pulled up into the mosque, man. I went in there, and the whole lecture, the minister was teaching on Master Fard Muhammad. And he taught on the we and the Quran and how it works. So at the end, I stood up. And when I stood up, I walked up, because he asked, he said, do you believe what you heard was the truth and good for our people? I raised my hand. And he asked, who would like to help him in the work? I raised my hand. So he come on up. I want to shake your hand. And when I came, the last part about it, I was hooked on the teaching. Now I had to see the minister. It's like, because I'm gonna give you my life,
Mm.
but I got to know who you are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So when I walked up, he extended his hand and he said, "Salam alaikum, brother," and it went through me. Like at that moment, I actually knew what assalamu alaikum meant.
Mm.
I felt the peace. You know what I mean? It didn't mean hi or what's up. And I said, Wa alaikum salam. And I grabbed his hand. But then I held his hand because I wanted to look him in the eye. And I was looking him in the eye, and it's like he knew what I was doing. He relaxed and he opened up and let me
Mm.
look all into him. And it was like, it was clear. Like, I'm yours. You know what I mean? So I stepped off from him. And Brother Amir was on the side where, giving out the forms,
Okay,
right?
okay,
Particularly for guys my age, because everybody my age was being pulled into the task force at that time,
okay, okay.
right? So he walked up, and when he saw me, he looked, and my little, my little cats was still out in the seats. They didn't stand up, you know what I mean? But he looked at me and said, "You, man, you serious?" And I was like, "Wait, what you mean, man?" He couldn't believe that, somebody that was, like getting down, like we were getting down, he couldn't believe that we was coming in. It was like, nah, man, this is it. Signed my form and started processing in Chicago. Then I went to school at Alabama A&M,
Okay,
and
okay.
that was under Minister Theo uh,
Mm.
Muhammad down in Huntsville. He had left Gaston and came to Huntsville, and so we started the study group out there. That's where I got my ex. And
Okay.
and see, Brother Collard used to come down there. I was supposed to be in mechanical drafting and design, but Collard would be down there every other week,
Mm.
and he was training us. And Collard, he was magnetic. He was funny too. He get
Yes,
to
sir.
talking
Yes,
about
sir.
we in
Yes,
the
sir.
South, he dogging the preachers out. Now I didn't like how Collard got down all the way because he crossed the lines. But I loved him. You know what I mean? And he was strong. And so I was selected. He would grab me, and whenever he traveled, I'd be his personal security, right?
Okay,
I
okay.
didn't even have an ex yet, man. We were all, and college was wild, man. We'd be flying down the street 120 miles an hour, teaching me how to do hotel security and stuff like that. But the highlight, was when he took me to Sean Hannity show with him.
Mm.
So he was
Okay.
on Sean Hannity. And so it's on the internet. We kind of shook things up at Sean Hannity's place. It went over the top because we had a security door. Yes, sir.
take your time on the story so we can explain what happened. Because I mean, I'm familiar with Dr. Collins, so I watch all this stuff. But for those who are new, please explain to us what happened with Shine Hannity. What was the circumstances, the environment? Let us know, please.
Well, we went to Sean Hannity's radio show. He wasn't big back then. He was up and coming.
Okay.
Khaled swept the floor with him, man. They
Mm,
couldn't none of them do anything with Brother Khaled. None of them. Khaled swept the floor with him. And we had, it was it was a hallway, and the hallway had a bathroom door. The bathroom door opened up. It had two doors, and one door opened up to the other side of the studio. So I locked the bathroom door from this side so you couldn't just walk through the other side, walk in
mm,
and see my principal. And, one of the cats up there was not feeling that. He's like, you can't come up in here and just lock the doors in our place. I was like, sir, this is a security matter. Now I still don't have my ex. This is a security matter. We're going to keep this door closed.
mm,
And then I locked it. And I'm standing, I see this cat come back around and he unlock it and open it up. I said, sir, I told you that that door was supposed to stay closed.
mm.
And he was like, well, we need air circulation. I said, out the bathroom? And he was like, well, no, I was like, no, listen, we're gonna close this door. I'ma lock it. Do not touch the door again.
Mm,
And he decided to test it. And that's when the studio went up. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, and I my wife don't let me talk about this stuff in public. But it went up, and I had a position on the floor on how these matters were to be handled,
mm.
right? Because I you hear stuff, but haven't been properly trained yet. So I'm going maximum efficiency.
Okay.
And Dr. Collick came out. We had a brother on staff on who was also, he was a police officer. He was also processing, and they pulled me off the dude, and I was upset that because it's like, hey, you supposed to come in here and harmonize. I mean, why are you breaking up the song? You know what I mean? It's room for you to add your notes. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean?
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
so then Brother Khaled pulled me into the studio booth with him. They went to commercial break,
Mm,
and we were in there, and Khaled was, trying to tell me, no, brother, we don't do it like that, man. And, woo, woo, woo. And I told him, I said, well, I hear you, but I disagree.
mm,
And he hit the ceiling. You disagree? I was supreme captain up in here, man.
mm,
I'm
mm.
national spokesperson.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Okay.
it's just like I stand corrected. And when I said it like that, he started laughing. He was like, brother, you stay with me, you know.
Mm,
And so now I'm in the booth now. Now I'm in the sound booth. Now, brother, we come back on air, and now brother Khaled is really laying into him, right? And then this white dude come up to the station. I see him wandering down the hall. He got on fatigues and an army shirt, and he wandering down the hall, and I'm gesturing to the brothers in the hall, get this cat, man. So we went off air again. we, and look, we escorted him out to his car, and it
mm,
wasn't us. Like brother Khaled escorted him. We were
mm.
just assisting the motion,
Beautiful, beautiful,
And
beautiful.
he got in his car, as he was able to do, and went up under his seat for a second, and everybody flexed, and brother Kyle like, nah, let him come out with it. And
Mm,
dude, he was, the way he was, and he was just like, no, it's just this, and I think it was like a rag to, kind of wipe
mm, mm,
himself
mm,
up, and he drove off. But when he came up, he said, I just wanted to see the face behind the voice. I never forget that.
mm.
Yeah. So that's I think it's probably still on the internet somewhere.
Yes, sir. Okay, beautiful. Okay, if it is, I'll be on it tonight. Just know I'll be looking for it. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Great. And people are showing you love from all around the world. Thank you, everybody who's watching Sister
Praise be
Melody
to
with
Allah.
love. Walaikum salam, Sister Laverne. All praises to Allah. Brother Kareem. Walaikum salam. Walaikum salam, Brother Musa. There we go. Perfect. And thank you, everybody who's watching from all around the world. Yes, sir. um, the task force. I've
Yes,
interviewed
sir.
Brother Amzai and many brothers from the task force
Yes.
about the impact of the youth. Right now, we spoke off air about gang violence and your connection. Everybody was basically left side or right side, either the
Yes,
five or
sir.
the six in
Yes,
growing up
sir.
in Chicago. It is what it is. Now it's switches. Same situation, but more advanced with phones. Uh,
Mm.
what advice would you give to the YNs, that generation of right now, someone who came from the streets, but was also brought in and came as a young man, and you saw the task force, you saw the young people who are standing with the most honorable Missiles Farrakhan. Yeah. What advice would you give to the young generation now?
Well, it's so different now, man. It's so different now. Back then, it was much more organization.
Mm,
We actually had to know our history, right? And you have to honor, those that came before you.
mm,
When they did the sweeps, their whole thing was to disconnect our young brothers from the old heads because there's so much strength when you connected the young cats and the old heads. You know, we didn't look at the old heads like just old niggas. Oh, excuse me, old whatever. You know what I mean? It was like, nah, like this is so and so. Like you see Willie Lord, man. You
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah,
man, this
yeah.
Willie Lord. You know what I mean? He was a superstar.
Yes, sir.
All of them, Hanif, all these
Mm,
cats,
mm,
King
mm,
Troy, all of these cats, man, all these brothers were superstars, and they had some wisdom because they had saw stuff, even if it was telling the brother how to handle his case. You
mm.
know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. And they would show some of them would show you now, everybody wasn't right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
So,
sir.
and you have to watch out for that too, right? But like for the brothers coming in, man, it's so much strength in our young brothers. You got to get organized.
Mm,
They have laws against you organizing. You got to get organized. Look, remember when they killed Biggie and Pac, right? Pac, I think the Dog Pound has sold 3.5 million records. Snoop has sold several million, and Pac was double platinum, right? And he came out and he had a message. He said, man, we sold all these millions. It's time to make these politicians fear us, right? They took him out. Now, Biggie, he's still on the scene. They interviewed Biggie and they asked him, they said, man, what did you learn from this beef with you and Pop? He said, man, do you realize we waged a coastal beef? He said, Pac ain't like me. So it's the whole West Coast ain't like me. And I had a problem with Pac. So the whole East Coast had a problem with Pac. He said that showed me how strong I am. Right? They got rid of him. It's like I wish that my young brothers could see themselves through our eyes, those of us who are a little older. I ain't got nothing but love and admiration for them personally. I actually know what it is, man, what it is
yes, sir.
out there, and
Yes, sir.
and the different things that you may be going through and trying to put together. When I came to the task force, and see, like for me, I was in school. We were look, if you could imagine it, all of the young brothers in the task force, everybody went off to college
Mm,
and was being
mm.
trained in different things. I went to school for mechanical drafting and design. It was
Beautiful.
brothers taking all kinds of things, right? And everybody was like, man, we got to build a nation. Thank you. We got to build a nation. And shoot, that was 1992. I went away to school. Right, we came home for break, and I got my ex, and we was in the basement of Mas Mariam. Brother Wali, Captain Wali, he was the
Yes, sir.
spiritual advisor for the task force. He was like the spiritual. I can't remember what the exact title was, but he's supposed to be helping us with the spirituals. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Help
sir.
get us
Yes,
in the
sir.
Quran because a lot of us have some edges that need to be
Yes, sir.
sanded
Yes,
down.
sir.
And
Yes,
Brother
sir.
Wali will sand your edges. He'll help you out. so, so I came home though, and Brother Aaron was, he was teaching the class. And like it was my first time in a class with Brother Aaron, with him as a lieutenant and me as a soldier,
Mm.
right? And now this is from seventh grade. Now we young men. I just wanted to show him what kind of substance I had as a soldier.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm standing there, my little bow tie was crooked. He came down the line, he straightened my bow tie up, and I'll never forget it. He was saying, you know, my favorite scripture in the Holy Quran is the 103rd surah.
Mm.
By the time surely man isn't lost, except
Yes, sir.
those, yeah, man, who do good and exhort one another to truth and exhort one another to patience.
Patience. Yes, sir.
We did the peace. We were all only home for break, and everybody went back to school. The next message I got from Brother Aaron was from my little sister, who was best friends with Amira.
Mm.
And she called me at school. She was like, no, I called home, just checking in. And she answers the phone, said, Scott, ooh, Aaron died. And I said, Aaron who? And I knew two or three Aarons, Aaron Wolf folk. I'm running through my mind. They said Aaron
Yeah.
Muhammad. No, it couldn't be him. He a Muslim. I was like, Aaron who? She was like, no, Aaron Muhammad. I was like, what?
Mm.
She said they found him hanging at his school on April Fool's Day. And something clicked off. I commandeered a car. I did 120 all the way to Chicago.
Mm. Mm.
Because in my mind, April Fool's Day, South Carolina, hanging, I'm already knowing what it is.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So I found a car and I did 120 on purpose because I wanted to be pulled over.
Mm.
Because I figured that we was going to kick it off and whoever pulled me over would be the section of the country that I kicked my part off in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nobody stopped me. I made it home in like 6 hours. And but like I got the news late. So when I came home, but when I got there, the funeral procession had
Mm.
just left the mosque. And I jumped out the car with brother Steve Six and brother Rasheen was on post. And I was like, man, where we going? What's the move? They shook their head. They was like, killed himself, man. I couldn't
Mm.
believe it. The minister did a lecture a couple days later in the MUI gym called The Problems of Suicide and the Causes of Homosexuality. And like none of us could hold posts. All of us had to go in to the sanctuary and listen. Now, normally we would all be holding posts because the task force, we held all the posts.
Mm. Mm.
No. And minister had some very profound and powerful and stern words for us. And so after that our squad was disbanded, right? But, you know, I guess I came home from school and that was 94, 93, I think it was 93, whatever it was. I came home and me and brother Tyrone Forex, like we clicked. And so we was working, and we had the remnants of the squad, and then everybody just started coming in our squad. And I look, brother, we had every gang in the city represented in our squad.
Mm,
I mean, it was amazing, brother. Like every gang was represented in our squad. I mean, I'm saying Cobra Stones, Black Stones, GDs, Vice Lords, everybody. And we was growing. And so we wound up being a team when Brother Leonard got the contract to do Rockwell Gardens, Maplewood Courts, Ogden Courts, and one of the buildings at Cabrini Green. It was Brother Tyrone and myself, and it was one more brother, Brother Anthony, 18X. We did the gang troops around the city.
mm,
So Brother Tyrone, he was plugged in, where he was plugged in, and I was plugged in on opposite. So between the two, we swept the whole city up.
praise be
You know
to
what I mean?
God.
We was in Rockwell, brother. I'm saying it was just us. And sometimes I would just go there and be handing out tapes. And it got so crazy when I would walk up, just children would just run out,
Mm,
right?
beautiful.
So I started bringing people with me, right? Some of my cousins came. Brother, wasn't nothing to see 20, 30 children come out and they would just mob me, you
Beautiful.
know? And then, of course, all of the mothers. When we went up to Rockwell Gardens, when we went in there, suited up, and we were coming to do the security, the women were hanging out the windows cheering. Now, that's heady wine for a bunch of young cats that have probably been told you ain't nothing for the majority of your life, and you come, and it's 14 stories of fine women
Mm,
hanging out, screaming like you were a rock star or something,
because
right?
you're right.
And the thing was though, see your bow tie like a shark cage. It kept them out and kept you in,
Mm,
right? And like that ain't no joke. I'm not being like you look, I'm working a night shift. And it's 14 stories of single women looking for a man, and I'm starting to reflect Farrakhan.
mm.
All night long, brother, they coming down, making offers you don't refuse, but you have to refuse,
Yes, sir. Yes,
right?
sir.
But they come like the Godfather. Listen,
Yes, sir.
and yeah, it was some stories out there, man. Like, and you had to, but see, when we didn't break, it blew their minds, and they didn't know how to handle us, and the brothers didn't know how to handle us because when all these women coming at you, and you ain't gay, but you ain't moving,
Exactly.
that was what part of what kept us safe
Yeah.
because you were different, you were unalike. And so we could work. And same thing, like we had to organize the gang troops before we went up in there. And the way Rockwell was set up, it was Maplewood Courts, those were 7 stories there, and Rockwell was the 14. And you go up in there and you had the two GD buildings, Icky Red and them, you had the Traveler Vice Lord buildings with Ant and them, you had the Renegades, the Maniac Folk on the Hustlers, then you had the building with the pimps and the prostitutes,
Mm.
right? That one had air conditioning in the booth. It was funny. But we went up in there, man. It was just it was just me, Brother Tyrone, and Brother Anthony, to my
Mm.
recollection. And there's a courtyard between 2515, 2514, and on the other side, I think we're building 324 or something. That was the GD building. But we would be meeting with the different organizations. Wasn't nothing for 60, 70 guys to be out there with AKs, shotguns. I mean, out. And we standing there, we 20 years old, 21 with our little bow ties, and we telling them what's gonna happen to them if they bother the brothers on post. I mean, talking big, brother. It was, I mean, and meant every word. Like,
Lord.
listen, blah, 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 blah. But we here to love you. That's
mm,
first. We here to love you. I'm here so that your grandmama can come down from her apartment, walk across the street, go to that little store, get her some bread, and come back home and not be bothered by nobody. Do
mm,
you agree that that's a good thing for the neighborhood? Everybody say, yeah. So you get the agreement first. Then for those who kind of standing off and they want to brandish their stuff, then you let them know, well, hey, bro, see that pole up there? It ain't nothing. It ain't nothing. And we were able, that's the FOI was able to come in, off of that, and all those buildings. And, first we did Ogden Courts, and people don't talk about this. We had some mishaps over there. But you know what we did, Brother Joshua? First, let me say this. Rockwell Gardens, the year before we went over there, the summer before we went over there was called the Summer of Raining Children. It was a
mm,
spread in the Tribune because they didn't have screens on the windows. So babies were falling out the windows, 11th, 12th floor. You open it up the window in the summer because it's real hot and you ain't got air, and the baby fall out, fall 14 stories over and over again. Then the elevators will be broken. So you on the 10th floor, you pressing the button, the door is open, but the elevator's still on floor one. You ain't paying attention, people falling down the elevator shafts, right? Bunch of children. Then in Chicago, it's a gang city. Sometimes people take flight off top of the buildings. So the summer before we went over there was called the Summer of Rain and Children. They had shootouts every weekend. When we went over there, imperfect, right? Really young, we dropped the murder rate to zero for 2 years straight. Nobody talks about that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody want to give a black man the credit that he deserves. We dropped the murder rate to zero for 2 years straight in some of the worst projects on planet Earth.
mm,
And we did it without a gun, without a knife, right? We did that attempting as best we could to reflect our minister to the people. It worked. And our young brothers, they need to understand that. Like you can reflect him. Man, pull up his tapes. Pull his stuff up on YouTube and watch his message to you. Listen to it. Start working your language like that. Take his instruction and see what it do for your life.
mm.
Straight up.
Teaching, yes, sir, Brother Scott, and people are bearing witness all around the world. Thank you very much. Walaikum salam. I mean, superstars, a whole coast. Wow. Oh, thank you. This is the Khadija. Thank you for showing love to the Slanya. Um, thank you to my uncle, Minister Jamil. Walaikum salam. Appreciate the love. Thank you very much. Our brother out of Houston, MKS, always showing love. ASA, I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's a task force. Okay, then wonderful.
One more thing. One more thing. I'm sorry.
Take your
But I
time.
would be remiss if I didn't do this for myself. Um, the news, media, all of them came and they would, take pictures and they show us and we be looking good. And we did, we look good. I ain't gonna even front on it. We were looking good out there. But you know what really changed the culture in the projects? Where we was able to actually form study groups in the projects from my observation?
Hmm,
It wasn't no tough guy stuff. When we were able to stabilize the environment, a sister named Karima Muhammad came in. Brother James Brown's
yes,
sister.
sir. Yes, sir.
And Sister Karima will come in, man, and she'd be looking out for us. Sometimes I think, maybe she had an instruction to keep a close eye on the brothers because,
Okay.
but she would come in there, man, and Brother Leonard and them had got her an apartment, and she would set up and cook bean soup, right?
Mm,
And bread. And she would press, she had a machine, she would press the garlic juice out,
mm,
the garlic, and pour it in the beans. And she'd be cooking for us, right? But the smell would hit the projects.
Okay. Okay.
It would go down the halls, that fresh bread, and you look, and pretty soon it's a crowd of children
Beautiful.
outside the door. And Sister Karima feeds you, right? But Sister Karima pop you in your junk too if you like cutting up. No, I'm serious. Sister Karima would handle those like they couldn't misbehave around her.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
She would straighten them out. All the crooked spaces would be straight when Sister Karima got done.
Yes, sir.
And then tell you, now go get your mama
Mm,
and tell her to come up here.
mm.
And Sister Karima would straighten your mama out too. You feel me? Like Sister Karima, the real deal. And she would be feeding people. But see, it wasn't tough guy stuff. This was big mama stuff.
Yes,
Because Sister
sir.
Karima would teach them how to clean their homes
Mm,
to get the roaches out. And Rockwell Gardens, everybody know me, know. The rats, the big old super rats in Rockwell Gardens, brother, was ridiculous. My
mm.
first day there, I was wearing some cute boy shoes. You know what I mean? Like the little nice steppers, you got your suit on and everything. I'm looking at a garbage can and looked like somebody had dropped a loaf of bread. Then that loaf of bread rose up and ran. I saw the tail
Damn.
and it was like, oh no. Now from that point on, I had boots with steel toes when I went to
Mm,
Rockwell. But
mm.
these rats, they would be running and they would slide under the door. So you had 1 and 2 pound animals crawling around people's apartments. You see what I'm saying? Like they had rats in their apartments that was as big as a loaf of bread. I killed about 30 of them one night, just lined them all up. I called the final call, man, come take a picture of this. Just lined them up in front of the building. Not just killing them, man, because it was different. The city, what they did was they started moving the trash cans next to the office so the rats would run up in the office on you, right? Sister Karima taught the people how to get the rats out their apartments.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? That MGT training is second to none.
Yes, sir.
And you might think of it but you can weaponize it. That woman changed the culture in the projects, man. You know what I'm saying? With just teaching people how to get the filth and the animals out their homes.
Praise be
So
to
I
God.
got to shout out Sister Kareem.
Shout out to this is Karima. We'll stay right there. What is the method for those who are watching?
I don't even remember, man. She would like I know she was using bleach on the floor, like right under the strips, under the doors and stuff. But you would have to ask her. I don't even remember. I just remember the whole conversation about it. The young sisters and that. You got to remember these girls, man. A lot of them 19, 20, 21 years old. They ain't know what to do, how to keep house. And Sister Kareem was in there showing them what to do.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for making my skin crawl, brother.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
But like it's a lot of people talk about falling out the robes. Thank you, MGT training. Absolutely. And shout out to Sister Karima, who um my entire life from the cities to Joliet
Yes, sir.
kept the guests coming, kept inviting us. My mom, Sister Sharifa, would put us in the car. We going to Sister Karima's house, and we out there, the music playing, she cooking. It's the
Yeah.
whole community, and I don't know who was like. It's like it was free food. Like we all just outside eating. Nobody was charging nothing, and she stayed with guests and stayed. The people loved her. People do love her
Yes,
because of
sir.
her work. So salute to Sister
I
Karima.
love her.
Yes, sir.
That was my big sister in the projects, brother.
Praise be to Allah.
Indeed.
um, Brother Minister Nuri has come on the podcast and he's told the story on other people's podcast. Please hope everybody goes back about how he was attacked. Um, at the property. Could you let us know what it was like from your vantage point, sir?
Well, I had left by the time Brother Minister Nori got there.
Okay.
But, you know, you play back the tapes. I used to go up there. I used to regularly get billed in 2514, 2515. That was a Traveler Vice Lord building. That was the most unruly building we had. in the projects. The GD building was coolly smooth. You know what I mean? Now they get those AKs with the scopes and they sit on the 14th floor and they were pin the building down, right?
Mm,
But that would be when it was on. But when it wasn't like that, they were very mannerable. But with the travelers, there was a couple of troublemakers that used to keep stuff really, really hot and popping. You know, I tell you what, like brother Hashim Hakeem,
mm,
H2,
mm.
I was there when he first came in. Right.
Okay, okay.
He was fresh out of lockup. He used to like the slap box. We had to slow him down, bro. We
Mm.
don't do all that up here, bro. You know. But it was gladiator school where he was,
Yes,
you
sir.
know.
Yes, sir.
And one night we were in building 2415. That was Maniac Corner, Folk on the Hustler building. And, you know, we heard the shots and we ran out there and the travelers were shooting at one of the little brothers and they shot him, little Folk on the Hustler. And we rushed them. We rushed the cats, the brothers who was out there shooting. And they turned around and ran, pistols and
Mm,
all. You know, we ran into the gunfire. And I scooped that brother up who was laying on the ground and I carried him back to the building. And we were waiting on the paramedics. And I want to say Captain Salim, brother Aaron and Amir's dad. We had like a rapid response team. Yeah, brother. He came up there and I can't remember, you know, my memory, I can't remember if it was before the paramedics took this young brother away or after, but I just remember him pulling me, you know, to the side and saying, "Don't ever do that again."
mm,
And I was like, what you mean?" He was like, "You can't move a gunshot victim." He said, "When you picked him up, you could have dislodged that bullet and
mm,
it could have traveled and killed him.
mm,
And if it would have traveled and killed him, then we could have been sued and it would have shut the whole operation down."
mm.
Right? Like that was on the job training. You know what I mean? It was it was way out. But like when I think of most of the nights that I didn't come to work, some madness happened, you know. And you know, you have to ask around. Your dad to remember some of the things that would happen. You know, the incidents that you hear talked about, I was never there for most of those incidents.
Okay,
You
yes,
know,
sir.
it would be like my day off, you know, and I come back in the morning or next day and man, you know, it's like what? Most of them, I was there when brother Ronnie 2X got stabbed in the head.
Damn.
You know, we were breaking up a domestic. That was another lesson they taught us. You know, the domestic is the most serious incident you can have because you'll be chilling the brother out, and the woman, when your back is turned, might get you. And that's what happened. His back was turned. She stabbed him. You know what I'm saying? That this dude was just whooping the snot out of her. You know, so you learn different things, you know, in there. But yeah, brother Nuri, that was a lot. And there was a lot after that.
Allahu Akbar.
And a lot after that. You know, and so we think a lot of brother Nuri is with us. Cause look at that light that we could have lost. You know, praise be to Allah.
Beautiful teaching. Yes, sir. All praises to a lot of people are bear witness saying, period. That's right. Second and none. Praise be to Allah. Thank you and everybody who is continues to show love. We wanted to ask you, sir, how did your family and friends feel knowing you go away to college, mechanical engineering, in the day or in the fall to spring semester, but in the summer you're stepping on 2 pound rats? How did they feel about this?
Man, my dad was really upset with me.
Mm,
He was like, "Why would you go?" You know, for everybody who don't know, you got the south side of Chicago and the west side of Chicago. It was two different cities. And the south side is said to be Sedity, and the west side is said to be ghetto,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So my family from the south side. So when
mm,
my father heard that I was on the west side, in the middle of the projects,
mm,
unarmed, talking about the gangs got to do this, that, and the other, because and the media is so slick with it. They played like a terrorist news story,
mm,
and the terrorist was getting arrested. Then, real quick, they segued into the projects, and it was me and Brother Tyrone. We were the two faces, working with the children, doing the salute. They showed us real military. And
mm,
so everybody thought that we were arrested as terrorists.
mm,
And so, I get the call, and my father, he wanted to see me. And I was like, oh, ain't no FOI too tough when daddy called you. And so I went home, and he was like, boy, what you doing over there? And I tell him, Dad, we gonna bring peace to the projects.
mm.
And I can imagine me at my age now hearing my
Yes, sir.
son, you bringing peace to what? Boy, why? You could be killed. Why? And I told him, I said, well, Dad, maybe it's my destiny to die over there. And my father stopped talking to me like 2, 3 months, man, for saying
Mm,
that to him.
mm, mm,
He came back around. And after that, man, we kind of became legendary. Like nobody had ever seen that. We went, brother, the way they were shooting over there. Look, I tell you what, when we walked up into those projects, it was me, Ty, and Ant. It was a big old brother. He was security, CHA security, big Jerry curl. He the same color as Jerry curl.
mm,
He had his baton, he had his pistol, and he was taking us around. He took us upstairs, man. We went in an apartment, and it looked like a big black spot on the wall. And you get up close, and it's a colony of roaches just living out on the wall, and like they just live on the wall. You know what I mean? And he's showing us, and he's introducing us to people that we should know, and he pointing out to people to be aware of. And then he took us down to the guard booth in one of the buildings that had the glass in it. And you know what a speaker box is?
yes,
It was
sir.
bullet holes all through the speaker box. He said, that guard talked too much.
Mm,
Let that
mm,
be a lesson. You know what I'm saying? That's and I mean it wasn't no lights. The projects is two exits, one door here in the front of the building, one door in the back of the building. And the way they had it going up the stairs, each floor had a different drug. So when people coming to buy drugs, maybe weed was on the second floor, cocaine on the third, crack, all the way up, however many floors they had it. Then they had cats out in the front and back, and they was loaded. It were prostitutes in the hallways, and they was armed. So you couldn't like rob them. You know what I mean? And the hallways, though, they were filthy. They'd be piled up with dirty diapers, trash, and it'd be rats in there. You couldn't see nothing. There was no lights, you
mm.
know. It was way out, man. And we went in there and we cleaned all that junk out. You know what I'm saying? We cleaned all that trash out, and we were working on the rest. It was a lot. It's a lot that went into everything. But when we came, we brought a whole lot of hope.
Mm.
Like particularly when you look at Ogden Courts projects over there by the hospital, we locked that thing down so thoroughly, man. We had so much love over there. The city tried to they was gonna cancel our contract, and they were gonna come and ask us to leave. And the people came out with their AK-47s and said, y'all can't bother our Muslims. They
Okay,
was
okay.
calling us their Muslims. They like, these are Muslims. You leave them alone. You know what I mean? It was a different time, but it was a lot of love.
Beautiful. All praise to so excellent. And thank you to everybody who was showing love from all around the world. We have a brief 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast. We are grateful for every like, share, subscription, as well as anonymous cash app and super chat. 1 second. We're coming right back, brother Scott. You
Yes,
teaching.
sir.
We love these stories. This is what
Thank
the
you.
podcast is all about. Listening to our amazing guests, man, break down amazing information as well as inspiration. Here we go. Live with the People's Podcast. Street Premiere Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out if you need any of that. Sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. Sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. My two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Okay, great. Also, we have Star and Crescent Upholstery out of Detroit, Michigan, and Raymond's Father and Son Lawn Care out of Florida. Thank you very much. And the comments are Muslims gotta love it. People bear witness and showing nothing but love. Yes, sir. Brother Scott, we want to, now we're in 92, 93. What was the climate of the Million Man March like leading up to the Million Man March, and how did it personally impact you, sir?
Oh my God, brother. I was traveling around the country, as we would do. We would follow the minister around and, just do security wherever we showed up.
Yes, sir.
And I remember him announcing it. I think we must have been in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, I think it was, a clean city, and he was talking about it. And I came home and I just started spreading the word. We going to DC. And we started organizing the brothers on the blocks. And at the time, see, I went to Kennedy King College, and brother Enoch Muhammad was at Kennedy King College, and Enoch would wear his Class A there. I would wear my Carl Kanai there. You know what I mean? We was
Okay.
but we was both working, and I started a group called the Black Affairs Council.
Okay.
And so we would bring in speakers. Like I got called in to work, but we brought Minister Ishmael up there one day. We had him on Kennedy King radio, and he don't even know, I don't think, that I was behind that, because I had my partner standing in my stead. But I gave him questions. One of the questions was, what is the difference between a minister and a reverend? Right. And a reverend and a pastor, you know. We had Tony Browder. We had, oh man, the brother who wrote the 40-ounce scandal. He broke down the symbols in the 40-ounce bottles. And, I would introduce the Million Man March to everybody, that came to our stuff. And so I don't know if you remember, it's a brother named Al Saladin. Shout out brother Al Saladin. He was the first prison minister for Brother Farrakhan, and he was the liaison to the street organizations. So Brother Saladin was plugged into all of them. When he got sick, I was one of, I was like with his legs. I was a helper. And I go to the meeting. Brother Saladin was, when he passed, man, his passing coincided with some of the rise of the murders in the early 2000s when he got sick. Brother Saladin could stop a prison hit from the street. He can stop a Muslim, brother. He stopped hits in the prisons. You know what I mean? Or he could fall asleep and not notice.
Yes, sir.
Brother Saladin was a god, man.
Beautiful.
Like for real. And his prison ministry was second to none. And I remember being over his house one day, and he was sick. He had a long time illness before he passed, but Mama Fort called him. Jeff Fort's mama called to check on him. 15 minutes later, Larry Hoover's mama called
Go
to
ahead.
check on him. You know what I mean? That's who Brother Al Saladin was. I go to his mailbox. He used to send packages into the prisons. So if you were serving long time, 30, 40 years, Brother Lionel out of Chicago, I
Mm,
remember taking packages for Brother Lionel.
mm,
He would pull together these care packages. And the care package, because Brother Saladin, he was part of our Muslim Brotherhood. So Marion Supermax Penitentiary, they had a lot of Muslims in there. He was in there with Brother Otis and them, the brothers who helped Brother Abdullah along, you know what I mean, to come into the nation. All
yes,
the
sir.
old heads, right? They were in there. These were the brothers who were part of like the kind of prison riots where they would hit you with this stuff called prolixin, and it would paralyze your body, but you would be conscious. So the guards could bother you. You know what I mean?
Mm,
These brothers, they established Islam in the prison. Shout out to brother Sadi Bey. For any of you researchers, y'all go and look up a landmark case where the Muslims, under the direction of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, changed prison policy. Is a famous case called Cooper versus Pate, and
mm.
that's what allowed the Islamic literature into the prisons and allowed the diet changes into the prisons,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah, man. Like it's a trip. Um, but Saladin, we worked with him down in Northwestern
Okay,
I'm
okay.
sorry, Northeastern University, the Center for Inner City Studies. That's what Conrad World and all those brothers would be. Brother Nile Muhammad was down there. We call him
Yeah.
Spook who sat behind the door. You know what I mean? Sat by the door. And, it was just, we were positioned in such a way where we had access to all the brothers. And see, Reverend Bevel was in Philadelphia, but it was a brother named Omar on off the west side,
Mm,
Calvin Omar Johnson. He passed, I think, last year, but he was a 5-star Universal Elite,
mm,
so he came on. And so we had all of the brothers, man, all of the GDs too, everybody, man. When the minister, look, when we went to DC and you saw that line of buses, you know what I mean? And it took a while to even get in the city. When Chicago got off the bus and we walked up, the whole crowd, it was like maybe 200, 300,000 brothers. And everybody was saying, Chicago here, Chicago. And it just parted, it opened up. And we went up to the front of the stage because that's where Chicago's supposed to be.
mm.
So it was a lot of love. The Million Man March, changed, of course, my life. And we had a lot of stories, you know, uh, just trying to make it down there because a little mischief had got started, but we was able to put out the fires. And
Beautiful.
but when afterwards, I was blessed. In fact, it was the task force, brother Enoch and brother Michael Tenex. They wanted to have an atonement meeting with the task force,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And I went to the atonement meeting. Brother Akeem was there, and we had a bunch of the brothers who we hadn't saw in a long time. And Brother Enoch and Brother Michael were learning atonement directly from Reverend Bevel.
Mm,
And so they took me to meet Reverend Bevel. And people have been telling me, man, you got to meet Reverend Bevel. Y'all talk alike. And I got a chance to meet him, and we just clicked. That was October of 2001 when I finally met Reverend Bevel. And interesting thing about it, he challenged me. Um, it was the end of the year. It was actually November. I beg your pardon. It was November, and the murder rate was almost at 666 murders for the city of Chicago. And so Reverend Bevel was like, he was challenging all the brothers. He's like, what you gonna do about this? He said, if you go to McDonald's and order some French fries and they mess up your order, who you want to see? You want to see the manager. Are you
mm,
a man made in the image and likeness of God? Yeah. Well, it was 600 and some odd murders in your city. What are you going to do about it?
mm, mm,
And
mm.
it resonated. And so he had a project called it, and this started after January 1st, when the statistics came out, he had a project called Project 666, The War on Murder.
Mm,
And I came on with him and he was saying, man, we're going to memorialize every brother that was murdered. He said, we're going to do 4 nights in churches around the city. And
mm.
so he said, I want you to design this for me, you and Omar. And so what I did was I reached out to the Chicago Police Department. I put in a FOIA request. I got the demographics on every murder victim in the city, first and last name, age, race, gender, street name, number, direction they was killed on, date and time of the slaying. And I spent the next year, I pulled all 50 ward maps from City Hall, and I spent the next year tracking every murder victim, victim by victim, block by block, and identified each person by a color coded sticker according to their race. So black males was red, black females was orange, Mexicans was yellow. And then I went and I got the neighborhood map because Chicago got 77 neighborhoods through these 50 wards. I spent the next year color coding each little brick in every map so that when you look at these maps, you can see the different neighborhoods and you can see where the murders went and stuff started happening, right? Like when you look at it, you could see the segregation in the city because it would go from all red stickers to all yellow, from all black to all Mexican. So you know you was leaving a black neighborhood going to the Mexican.
Yes,
Then a
sir.
neighborhood with no murders, you know you was in the white neighborhood, right? Then I put those maps on some boards and I went walking through every neighborhood, walking every neighborhood in the city. And people started coming up to me and telling me the circumstances behind the murders, right? So now I'm getting all of the murder data. And what really did it, I found out that I only had 665 names. And so the Chicago Police Department refused to release the 666 victim, right? They said they didn't want that over the city. And the excuse they gave me, they said, well, we found that he wasn't murdered. He was a victim of a lesser form of homicide. I said, what? What kind of games is y'all playing? Right? But I had 665 names, and one day I'm out in Morgan Park, 34th Ward, 19th Ward. So I had the ward maps, right? And there was a triple homicide on 113th and Church Street, August 19th, 2001. Terrell Hall, Nadia James, Kirsty Brayson, 1:15 in the morning, right? And everybody was coming up to me. I didn't know these people. The reason why I know it is because everybody was coming up, oh, that's Kirsty, that's Kirsty. Kirsty was 9 months pregnant, so her unborn baby became my 666 victim. And everybody telling me, man, they like Kirsty, everybody had a lot of love for her, right? So while the people is a crowd around me, but I'm always aware of my surroundings. I see somebody standing off in the cut, just watching real close. So I'm like, okay, I'm peeping you. And so everybody's, telling me what's going on. And then they would step off and the next person step off. When the last person stepped off, the brother in the cut, he lifts up and he comes, walks over to see me. And he says, hey man, you the dude out here doing this ish on murder? And I said, yeah. He pulls out a nickel plated 380, right? He pops the clip, he clears the chamber, he hands me the pistol. I was like, damn, fam, what you doing with this? And he was like, I was there that night. He said, we was at Kirsty's and we wanted to smoke, but she wouldn't let nobody smoke because she was pregnant. He said, so we went to this liquor store, we got some cigarillos, we bent some blocks, we smoked. He said, when we came back, the door was open. And when we walked in, he said the blood was dripping out the ceiling like the exorcist. He said, we were so mussed up, we did 4 murders over the next 2 nights, 2 in Dalton and 2 in Inglewood. They was on my maps. And now I'm standing there, I'm like, bruh, you ain't. And I like, he was like, look, this what I'm carrying when I'm out and about. We got the thumpers back on the block. This how we get out. He said, but today I need to talk. His brother, And he just and I just sat there and accepted it. And but what was happening was Allah was showing me a need that's in our community. You see what I'm saying? Like they they didn't they didn't set out to be murderers, but it happened. And now they stuck and don't know how to get back. You see what I'm saying? So I started attracting these kind of people. I'm just walking with my maps. People be, you know, and that ended up a precursor to the next chapter of what we were supposed to do. But all of that project was an atonement project. So everybody knows, we always remind people the Million Man March was not about just a million men. It was not about, we didn't go to ask nobody white for nothing. We didn't go about jobs or justice. I went to say in front of the whole world, I have not been the proper brother, father, husband, or son. Right. And take my pledge and make my resolve of what I was going to come back to my community and do. Right. Now, Reverend Bevel was teaching the science of atonement.
Yes, sir.
Now, a lot of people think they know the science of atonement. That would be like reading a book, Dianetics, and thinking you're an auditor.
Mm, mm, mm,
It's more to atonement than memorizing the 8 steps. You have to know how to apply them, right? And you have to be serious about its application. Point out the wrong in self first. That's huge to be able to point out a wrong. Reverend Bevel, he used to say this, man. He used to say, man sees in relationship to his commitment to do. That's an
mm,
axiom. Man sees in relationship to his commitment to do. Then he would say this. He said, do you realize that every moment, every hour, every second, the universe is asking man 2 questions. What's needed? What needs to be done? He say, nah, if you answer with what I want and what I do, what I want to do, he said, you lose the ability to perceive and comprehend what's needed and what needs to be done.
mm, mm, mm,
Because you're looking in relationship to your commitment to do, and my commitment is what I want and what I want to do.
mm.
Hey, this is why a man got to come out and tell you the time and what must be done,
Yes, sir.
right? Yeah, the Million Man March was transformative to everybody, whether they know it or not. He changed. Allah used the minister to change the trajectory of the history of this planet. He altered the trajectory of it, right? And now we going down the road. The World Friendship Tour is still reverberating.
Mm, mm, mm,
And people are being judged based on how they handle the message that he gave as he was traveling, right? So that's where I would leave that. That's where I was affected by the Million Man March.
Okay, listen, Brother Scott, you teaching the people. The comments are going crazy. Fire
Praise
emojis,
be to
nothing
Allah.
but the chat. Thank you very much, chat. Everybody showing love. Man, we got so many follow points for this. Let's go back to the task force. Interview Brother Enoch. Some members from. I heard all the quotes. Nothing but a task.
What a task.
Um, Lil Marvin. All the people who've come. He's been on, multiple times. How was it to reconnect and atone with Brother King? How did that come about? I mean, how did that go?
Well, it didn't go as expected. See, I wasn't trained in atonement yet.
Mm,
I
mm,
was just in the room with Akeem after Aaron died. And so it went the way it went,
mm,
you know. Um, and it wasn't no like tough Tony kind of stuff. It was just hard questions, you know. Um, hurt people hurt people. And it's a saying that everybody's familiar with now. You know, if you want to be um, a healer, there's a certain approach you have to take, and there's a certain amount of work a man got to do on himself to be a healer, right? Like our minister's a healer,
Yes, sir.
right? When I tell you, when I was around, when what was his name? That Beverly Hurd, that congressman that was with that 15-year-old girl, and this cat man, what was his name? And he had Zionist funders way back then, and
Mm,
he would attack the minister every chance he got. Um, and he blocked Larry Hoover's parole. He blocked
okay.
Jeff Fort's, and talked about the minister like a dog, man. I mean, he was foul. And then they found him with a 15-year-old girl.
Mm,
And now he's getting locked up in Chicago after
mm,
blocking Jeff Fort and Larry Hoover.
mm,
Our minister sat in that courtroom on his side, right? And his presence protected that man.
mm,
You see what I'm saying? It's like um in jail, I'm telling you, man, they was rolling dice. Who gonna get him?
mm,
You know what I mean? And the minister was like, nah. Like he does stuff like that. He
mm.
always calling us to a higher space to
Yes,
handle
sir.
each other, right? And nobody is more maligned than he. Nobody, you know. So the little stuff that, gives us offense, like he says, like a fart in a hurricane, going for you smell it,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
And that's just what it is. So I was not, I hadn't matured. I was very angry when I saw him for the first time. And, he ran out, um, but it didn't do us no good. We didn't make no progress with that.
Yes,
But I
sir.
tell you what, the minister, a quote from his lecture, Problems of Suicide Causes Homosexuality, he asked the question, who is your taskmaster?
Mm,
You know, that's something each one of us can ask ourselves tonight. Who driving you? What's driving you? You know what I mean? Like, do you want to get in your driver's seat? Point out the wrong. Acknowledge it. And acknowledgement is huge. It validates a person. You have been angry at somebody and they really angry with you or you angry with them and they say, all right, whatever, or if I offended you, you're like, if, stop. You already know you did. So Jesus, he said, if you're going to the altar, right, you're going to give your gift at the altar. And on your way, you coming with your gift to the altar of God, and on your way, remember that your brother has aught against you. Leave your gift at the altar. First, go be reconciled with your brother,
mm.
right? Not you had something against that ninja over there. I'm on my way to the altar. I got a good gift for the Lord. I haven't worked hard on it. But here's a brother over here who got something against me. God ain't more interested in the gift that you
Okay.
bring than
Okay.
he is in you handling the relationship with your brother because the
Beautiful.
gift becomes vanity. You feel me? So no, first go be reconciled with your brother. It's amazing, man. Like it, like I do Dianetics and Scientology,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
right? And there's a big violation you can do to another human being. It's called an invalidation.
Mm,
So when you become an auditor, the auditor's code say it's two things you don't do as an auditor. You don't try to evaluate nobody and you don't invalidate nobody.
beautiful.
You don't do that, right? When You see a person is really, really hurt and you dismiss them, that's an invalidation, right? So an acknowledgement means so much. You see people say, "Hey, my mama left me when I was 3. I was raised by this beautiful woman, but one day I saw my mama. And what did you want to know? Why?" That's a question of validation,
Beautiful.
right? So an acknowledgement. Step number 2 is huge. To properly acknowledge that somebody has an issue. You can reduce the amount of charge that a person is feeling with a simple acknowledgement. It's a science. There are steps like we got 8 big steps,
Yes, sir.
but it's like the Richter scale. Each a 4.1 and a 4.2. There's orders of magnitudes between a point 1 and a point 2.
Go ahead and teach.
Right. So it's like that when you're walking these 8 steps of atonement. These are exponential orders of magnitude to get from acknowledgement to the confession.
Beautiful.
You can't have a confession if you don't have a proper acknowledgement because the acknowledgement is the base that you stand on to formulate the language of responsibility. I did this. This is my contribution to this conflict. I'm not going to attempt to mitigate, by bringing one of your actions in or blaming you. No, I'm not going to try to justify, which is to kind of lessen the offense against you. I'm going to lessen it so that I can relieve my consciousness of the burden of what I've done. I have to face what I have done.
Mm.
When you do this and you walk in and you going through your acknowledgement, you go through your confession, then you repent, which is to do the opposite action,
Yes, sir.
right? Then you get to your atonement. I tell you what, if I may, I was brother Michael, our one of our first lieutenants, if I'm not mistaken, brother Michael Muhammad used to be Michael X Conley. Michael Muhammad was the first FOI to get his ex in Chicago when the minister
Mm.
stood up, if I'm not mistaken. And I know he and his wife, the beautiful sister Carolyn, were the first marriage, and they still married.
Praise be to Allah.
They still married. They might have something to tell somebody, right? Brother Michael got beat nearly to death on the side of MUI. Somebody got the drop on him. And I got a call. I went out and we looked. It was a pool of blood. They only beat him in his head. And the minister's spoken publicly about this, right? And Brother Barney, he called and I went out with him and we were doing the initial searches. And we get to the hospital. We didn't know if brother was going to live or die. Allah was merciful and blessed us with our brother. He began to recover a little bit. And then was the day that the minister came up to the hospital to visit with brother. And I think I sent you a picture of the minister and the brother and me, right? And the brother's hands is all bandaged up because he ain't want to touch his stuff, right? But I had just came back from DC, from the trial of Reverend Bevel, which a lot of people heard about, but very few people actually know about,
Mm.
right? We love, to be talking. And there were some really terrible charges against Reverend Bevel. And I was sitting with the minister and I wanted to tell him. I said, Brother Farrakhan, I spent 2.5 years in the atonement process with Reverend Bevel. And I said, based on what I come to know of atonement, it would have been impossible for him to be guilty of what they accused him of. The minister dismissed the whole affair. He said, brother, the way that a law judges a matter is he weighs the good that the person has done against the bad. With the amount of good that Reverend Bevel did, he's sinless in the eyes of Allah.
Mm,
That should have been it.
mm, mm.
But, I had been out for a while and, I probably had regrown some of my edges that Brother Wali was working to scrape off. And so I said, I didn't want to let it go with that. I didn't want Rev to win by default. So I pressed,
Mm,
Brother Farrakhan, he couldn't have. And the minister looked. In fact, to be honest, I didn't say a word. I thought it. And he looked at me and he began addressing what I was thinking.
mm, mm, mm.
He did that over and over again in the hospital room. He said, oh, brother. He said, there's none righteous, no, not one.
That's right.
Then the thought came up because I'm looking at the minister. The thought came up. Then he repeats, said, brother, there's none righteous, no, not one.
Mm, mm.
And then he said, brother, all of us have a dark side. This ain't my fault right here, Brother Joshua. I was looking at this man. We in the hospital. The lights, the where we're sitting, there's a window. The window was closed. It was dark. Wasn't no light source. This man glowing in the dark. I'm watching light emanate from this man's skin, and he telling me about the dark side. So the thought came up in my mind, just a little bit fleeting disagreement. Well, you said, brother, there's none righteous, no, not one.
Yes, sir.
He said that there's no prophet that didn't have a dark side. And then he
That's right.
talked about how the prophets are styled as moon. He said, and we don't have light of our own. That's what he said. And I'm looking at this light. We don't have light of ours. And he said, brother, we're reflecting the light of the sun, you know? And he says, and what the devil does is he sends a contraption up around to see the dark side of the moon, then pulls that out when he finds a young brother like you that loves a prophet. Then he'll pull all that out to turn you away, you know. But that's what he told me, But we were in there, and I said, Brother Farrakhan, I just couldn't get it right this night. I said, I thought that maybe we should forgive the young brothers that did this to brother. And I had a scheme, a plan on, of action about it, because it was like if he was beat next to Muhammad's house, then maybe Muhammad got a problem.
Mm, mm,
Why we Muhammad ain't safe around his own house?
mm, mm.
What's happening? It's something we got to do. But the minister said, he said, brother, he said, if they come and confess, then we can talk forgiveness. And remember, these are steps. You can't get forgiveness before the confession,
Allahu Akbar.
right? And before the forgiveness comes repentance and atonement. So if they come and they confess, we can talk about forgiveness. If we find them before they confess, there will be no conversation.
Beautiful.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Big 10 for it. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Coming right back, brother. The minister always displays impeccable character.
Yeah.
Miss Sherry Bevel says, "What's needed, what must be done." If she's quoting, not what I want and what I need to do, my Lord. Thank you very much. And Brother Musa is saying, "Wow, that's deep." Yes, sir. Okay, so it's great at telling stories. What happened after the brother? Did we ever find like what happened after he was beaten?
Did we ever find? I have no knowledge of
Mm.
anybody being found or anything like that. Um, um, that was a it was a lot in that meeting, and that ended up prefiguring, or like that was like a precursor to him actually coming to Tuskegee, because Brother Barney kept putting me on the spot. I had all these reports, right? Because Reverend Cohen, Charles Cohen, had also been arrested at that time.
Mm.
And Reverend Cohen had built the carpentry school on 92nd, I think, in Green or Greenwood, something like that. And I was one of the teachers at the carpentry school. I used to
Okay.
teach character development. And Reverend Bevel, my God, he used to come in and he would teach history, brother. And if it, you can go to any history book on the civil rights movement, and Reverend Bevel features prominently in that history book. And he would teach you how to read history.
Mm.
Like he might take 5 or 6 books on just the voting rights movement. By 5 or 6, you might have Taylor Branch and David Garrow and
Yes,
Chuck
sir. Yes,
Fager and
sir.
this one and that one, the feminist one. And he would go to like the back of the book, or what have you, and he'd look up the name Jesse Jackson. And then you look at all of the different accounts of Jesse Jackson in the history book, and a character emerges. You could read John Lewis, you could read Martin King. When you read James Bevel, you read who came up with the idea of the particular movement, and when a movement was faltering, who put it on a strong track and carried it through. Every single time, man. It's way out.
Yes, sir.
I mean, brother, the minister called him an angel. He said, an angel brought me the idea of atonement for
Mm.
the Million Man March. But then you go back in history and you see that same angel was the one who set up the March on Washington. Then you see that same angel did the Selma to Montgomery March. And you see the largest or most consequential marches of last century. And here this man is, either
Beautiful.
at the center of it or very near. So you have to ask, who was he?
Mm.
Right? It's and I had a different thought. I apologize. But Reverend Bevel, man, he was different. Oh, he would teach the science of history
Okay.
at Reverend Charles Cohen's school. And then he left town. He said he was going out of town, and he was going to be he was working on setting up a chapters of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, 21st Century SNCC. And he said, "Look, man, I want you to cover down and teach my history class." I was like, I can't teach your history class. Reverend Bevel was a historian, like for
Mm.
real,
Yes, sir.
right? He would be up all night reading the history books that he's in.
Mm.
Had a voracious appetite for history.
Beautiful.
And I was like, Rev, I don't even know where to start. He said, "Oh, man, you'll be fine." Hey, Rev, come on now, man. I can't stand up there and be. I said, "I tell you what, Rev, give me a definition of history I can work with." He said, "History occurs when a man agrees to die so that God can tell his story through him."
Okay.
Very simple, profound. Because according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, really, history is a record of the intervention of God in the affairs of man,
That's right.
right? They write history in
That's right.
advance, right? So now, you're getting it from different angles, and now you able to start working with it. So I was at that school teaching 4 hours straight a day to brothers. A lot of them was, coming in off probation or whatever. And I would teach the principles of marriage that Reverend Bevel had taught me. And
Okay.
the class began to grow. So we started out with like 9 people in the school, and my class grew to 40 people because they would bring their girlfriends, then the girlfriends would bring their girlfriends. And 5 days a week, I'd be in there and we'd be teaching. And
Beautiful.
my goodness, Reverend Cohen was arrested and put in jail for several years. This man had a carpentry school, brother. On 90, he was able to build 2 prefab homes a day in this factory off either 92nd or 93rd and Green. Brother James Muhammad from the Final Call was there. Brother Barney, he would be falling through there. You know, I mean, like it was huge. And he was working to get brothers that when they would come in, and sisters, because we had women in there too, get you your license,
Mm.
right? So you could get in the union, not just a training program, teach you how to do it. Now you're a handyman, become certified,
Yes, sir.
And they locked that brother up. And when he went in, it was so cool because he had his boy, his right hand man. I can't think of his name. Sherry Bevel, she should put it in the chat. She know his name because Rev used to call him the War Horse
Mm.
and Reverend something. They put the mafia out the building, brother. When they got to the building, some Chicago outfitters was there. They preachers. They laid hands on them
Beautiful.
and physically removed them from the building. You know what I mean? Reverend, we've had some really, really great, great brothers and sisters, that have been a part of moving us forward incrementally, you know. And Reverend Cohen, he was one double, he had, I think, 2 PhDs in banking,
Okay.
like this
Okay.
brother he was unusual, but him and Reverend Bevel were locked up at the same time, you know. And so, the enemy, he goes out and he puts out what he puts out, you know. But, well, I I'm gonna be um I'm learning to be proper and appropriate. The minister said, the way Allah judges a person, and his word is weightiest. The way he judges is he weighs your good versus your bad. And
Mm.
based on the amount of good Reverend Bevel did, according to the Messiah, who represents the Christ, who represents God in person,
Wow.
Reverend Bevel is sinless with Allah. And that's kind of where I lead at.
Beautiful. Okay. And people, this is thank you for everybody who's watching. The chat is going up. That's deep.
To Allah.
All praises to Allah. Thank you to our sister Washika. I think that's how I pronounce your name. Great testimony, my brother. Awesome delivery from the heart. Thank you so much, Washika, for always showing love and everybody else who's watching. Um, the lady Miss Sherry Bevel, was she related to
That's
him?
Reverend Bevel's daughter,
Okay, wonderful.
Dr. Sherry Bevel. She's
Dr. Sherry
walking in her
Bevel.
father's footsteps. She teaches nonviolence at the Wyatt Center. Um, she's really trying to share the movement. And see, like one of the tragedies of miseducation is we let our open enemy present to us what our brothers and sisters in the nonviolent movement was doing. When Dr. King sat down with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a meeting that was organized by Reverend Bevel.
Okay.
Yes, sir. If you read his FBI report, Reverend Bevel had Muhammad speaks and was taking them through the colleges, right? If you don't know, then you won't know. But when they sat down, they found agreement. They had in Scientology, they have
Yes,
something
sir.
called the Third Party Act.
That's right.
And if you see 2 people and they into it, there's a third party somewhere. We are taught about that third party in our lessons. Why do we put them out?
That's right.
Because they
That's right.
cause trouble making, telling lies, causing the righteous to fight and kill one another. Right. So when we went to Rockwell Gardens, we went non-violently.
Mm,
We did not carry weapons. We were not allowed to be abusive in language towards our people. I mean, you could if you want, that get you handled. The key, good manners, man, go a long way. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about good manners.
that's
What are
right.
good manners?
Mm,
Well, good manners go in sections. The first part of good manners is granting the willingness to grant beingness or importance to another person. You got to be able to look at a 16-year-old boy, he might have boogers in his eyes, but you say yes, sir, and no, sir to him. You make him big. You find the God in him, accept it and build it, and then hold him to that. And you will find him checking his own behavior with you, right? Then after granting him importance, then you observe the local customs
mm.
and cultures. That's good manners.
Yes, sir.
But when you come to a Muslim's house, good manners dictate that you take your shoes off at the door, right? That's good manners,
Thanks.
right? So yeah, man, we use nonviolence. The issue was, do you use nonviolence with your open enemy and be violent towards you? But when
Mm.
you take nonviolence and turn it inward, and you start handling yourself non-violently. The minister said, we're not qualified to judge ourselves. So why do I beat myself up? That's being violent with myself.
Go ahead and teach.
So I have to be non-violent. And
Mm,
it's like, no, that N-word need to be handled. No, 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 hold up. Hold up. You don't know, so there's teachings that we have to get. So, it man, Jesus, that when you go into nonviolence, right? It was a cat named Leo Tolstoy, a Russian dude. He was a count, but he wrote a book called The Kingdom of God is Within You. And his
okay.
big thing was he said, listen, stop talking all this miracle stuff with Jesus and walk on water. None of them mean nothing. What was he teaching?
Mm,
Jesus say, you've heard it said about men old that, thou shalt not kill. However, I say, don't even be angry with your brother.
mm.
So you hear the minister talk about how Jesus took the message up a notch. You've heard it said by the men of old, thou shalt not commit adultery. However, I say, if you look at a woman in lust, you are already outside the law.
Teaching.
And you say, damn, man, wait a minute. wait, wait a minute. Have you seen what I seen, Lord?
Mm, mm.
He said, yeah, I have, Well, what's the problem? Why can't I, I mean, I'm a man. Why can't I lust? What is lust?
Teaching.
You could define lust as any desire for anything outside of God's kingdom. That's a lust. Because it's going to pull you out of his kingdom chasing something. And it could be anything,
Teaching.
right? But then like Reverend Bevel, he get into the science of it. He like, well, look, when you look at a female, man sees in relationship to his commitment to do, right? That's an axiom. I
Okay.
look at her and I'm gonna misdefine her as a toy for me to play with, rather than a living soul created in the image and likeness of God. That's God I'm looking at.
Yes, sir.
Now I can respect God when he looked like Brother Joshua, because Brother Joshua got knuckles, he got shoulders, he throw hands. But when he looked like her, then I tell a lie. I ain't got to respect that. I subjugate that, right? That's a nonviolence. So when you want to get a nonviolent movement going, see, There was beautiful congruency between
Yes, sir.
Reverend Bevel and Brother Farrakhan when he brought the atonement to the minister. He brought four steps.
Okay.
The minister brought the other four, right? Reverend Bevel, he was teaching at that time, if I'm not mistaken. I wish my wife was on; she could really, but confess, repent, don't judge, forgive. That was the atonement. And interestingly enough, when I had an opportunity to sit and talk with Reverend Bevel, he was saying, he said, man, I had this baton of atonement. He said, but I needed another preacher. He said, it's like playing football. You can't be the quarterback and the wide receiver, right? Either you got to be the wide receiver, they throw the message, you go down and catch it and run it, or you be the quarterback, you throw and you hit that man. He said, I needed another. He said, but when I went around the country talking to the preachers, he said, God gave me a question to ask each one. And the question was, is it all right to play with women? And he said, every single preacher to the man told him, just be discreet.
Mm.
He said, when he met Minister Farrakhan, that was the first preacher he met that took a position. No, you cannot play with females. So he was free to turn over the atonement to him. When the minister heard him say, confess, repent, don't judge, forgive, the minister said, well, you would have to point out the wrong first. He said, when that wrong is pointed out, you got to acknowledge it. Once you acknowledge it, now you're in a position to confess it. After your confession, you can repent. But the repentance doing the opposite action is going to lead you naturally to the next step, which is to repair the damage, to make the expiation, the atonement. After you make the expiation, now we can legitimately talk about forgiving. Once you forgive, the natural thing is you're going to be pulled together in reconciliation. Now, working through the reconciliation, now we're back on the track towards perfect union. After that perfect union comes unlimited progress, right? So those two men, the son of Martin Luther King and the son of Elijah Muhammad, when they got together, it produced the Million Man March, right? It's like, so as young men, and I know you are a little younger than me, but this is very important as a principle, man. You don't have to prove you with Brother Farrakhan, even by trashing Malcolm. All of them, we have an inheritance from them. And we need the inheritance, the best parts of all of them, because we really are faced with making a nation, right? We really have to build this thing. And it ain't looking so hot right now. So we don't need to be just talking. The life of a Muslim is a life of study.
Yes, sir.
So you have to investigate, and as minister even said, do your research, study, find out what's what, and what you can apply to achieve change. You absolutely, man, in my house, Reverend Bell, he said, man, look, the hardest place to practice nonviolence is at home with your wife and children.
Mm.
I said, damn. And then I got married and had children. I said, oh, okay, I understand now. Right? And if you ask my wife, she tell you the same thing. Yeah, I was going, but yeah, it's okay. So, if everybody, check Sherry Bevel out, Dr. Sherry Bevel. Check her out, man. Think she got some stuff on the internet. Just listen to what she's actually saying and find where that congruency is. Because you know what? Last point on this. Savior's Day 19, was it 96 or 97 where the minister did Deceptive Intelligence, where he's wearing green.
97 is green.
Yeah, brother. Those were conversations
Mm,
with Reverend Bevel and Brother Farrakhan. And when we were sitting in that hospital room and he was talking to me about Reverend Bevel, he said, "Oh, Reverend Bevel." He said, "He's a prolific teacher." Then he said this, "And I learned much from him."
mm, mm, mm,
The minister don't play, man. If you come around him, he gonna find a way to learn from you. He built different.
right.
He not one of these people that, oh, well, see, I'm the teacher. You got to learn from me. The minister will learn from a child and broadcast, man, this child taught me this, right? That's his spirit. And so, so he tell all us, listen, don't be lieutenant, just be student lieutenant. I real speed, I'm student brother Scott Muhammad. I'm still trying to learn how to be that.
Mm,
Or am I going to say I've mastered brotherhood? No, I'm a student brother. I'm a student in the brotherhood. I'm trying to learn to be a brother. I've been in the nation, man, 30 plus years, and I made plenty mistakes. And like, what's his name? Rick James, I've stepped on feet,
okay.
cross line, habitual line crosser. You know, it would be a mistake though for you to handle me like it was 1999 or 2004. I've moved past that, and I have to be gracious enough to allow that others have moved past the last point they were at. And if they haven't, then be gracious enough to say, well, you know what? Maybe they've grown in capacity to move. They just need the catalyst.
Mm,
What if
mm,
I had brought that to the meeting with our king? We might have a brother on the line. You know what I mean? You know, And so yeah, all that's important. That's a message for the young brothers out there. They call them YNs. Hey, well, young brothers, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you gotta be able to give grace. If you can't give grace, you gotta at least accept the fact that you're a hater.
mm,
Everybody calling the next man a hater as if you are full of love
mm.
with
Okay.
your switch. It's like, nah, man, you got to extend some grace out here. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's I guess that's all I say on that.
Beautiful. All praise to a lot of people showing love. Thank you to she said OMG, he's on fire. Brother Enoch, thank you for always showing love. Hip Hop Detox in the comments. Yes, sir. Nothing but love. Uh gotta put you on the hot seat. First question: can we get you to come back for a part two? Because we didn't get to touch the ski because we want to give some time and do a whole build up, but we just right here, we just getting started.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay, praise be to
Absolutely.
Allah. And second, just a statement. Uh Reverend Bevel's son, Enoch. I went to school with him. We played
Yes.
football together at MUI and played basketball. Man, that was my friend and my brother. And so I'm praying that he's doing well wherever he is in life. I wish nothing but peace, and I hope he remembers the good time of us. I played running back and he played receiver, and we would be outside imagining our dreams of greatness in some shape or form, following in our father's footsteps. I understood to an extent at that time what it was like. My dad was spring captain. His dad was Reverend Bevel, Million Man March time period. After all of that, we was young, but he was a PK preacher's kid. I became a preacher's kid, and you know what I'm saying?
Praise
I
be
wish
to
that
Allah.
I wish nothing but the best for Brother Enoch and their whole family. May Allah bless them. May Allah continue to bless you, sir. And
Thank you.
man, we look forward to part two. Inshallah, we speak offline about that. Thank you, everybody who was watching. This is I always have points where I have to chop up to post on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Everybody go back. I can't post that many clips. So you got to come back and dissect this. I'm a history major, so I love history and historian. This is
Allahu Akbar.
we got some great research out of this one, great history, and we look forward to coming back to discuss the ski and the CE program and so much more. Thank you, Brother Scott, for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
This
May
is
Allah
Joshua.
bless you all.
This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off with People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.